Philip, over to you.
All right, thank you, James. For the sake of time, we are not going to wait for up to 100 participants. We are almost 60. We'll take this very opportunity to invite Dr. Ardeyvinson to start with the overview of the gas sector as we await the rest of the participants to join. Dr. Ardeyvinson, please take over and have your lecture. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, SPE Ghana. And thank you to my very own Ghana Gas for allowing us to do this. My CEO could not join today, but he'll be joining on Friday for the closing remarks. So let's take note of that. This is very important topic to discuss, to understand the sector itself, and to know who does what. Why is it important? It's very important because I think for the SPE officers on this platform, you understand this chat between myself and a student from one of the universities I'm not going to mention. I asked him what his dream was, and he said this: the main dream was to finally land on an FPSO because I enjoy learning about drilling activities. Or if that side does not work, I'll share my direction towards mine because they are somehow similar. In the first place, we don't do drilling on FPSO. So I asked, so who told you that the FPSO is for drilling? Oh, it was said at school, please. That's why I'm not going to mention the school or the university, because all along I know after drilling from a reservoir, the gas and oil are stored on an FPSO before they are delivered onshore. So for your information, gas is not stored. You cannot store gas on an FPSO. And also, in the case of Ghana or many countries that I know, you don't also wait till you store oil until you ship it or until you pipe it to onshore. From a reservoir development point of view or field development point of view, what I know is if you're going to do direct piping from the well to onshore, you don't need any FPSO. You put in stable or static platforms and you put in pumps, okay? So that's the reason why we have this overview, just to throw more light into why we need to understand the sector in terms of its segments. So before I do that, I know that Peter has come, our demand and supply lead. But let me tell you what Ghana Gas is. So Ghana Gas is a limited established company that happened in July 2011 with our core mandate to be responsible to build, own, and operate processing plants, transportation assets, and also market the gas products. So our vision is very simple: to be a trusted, reliable gas service company. So per this information, you would understand that Ghana Gas is indeed a service company. We are not an NOC, but we are an NGC, a natural gas company. So we are to contribute to Ghana's gas economy development by providing operating infrastructure. So we are to operate infrastructure that will be used for gathering, processing, and delivery. So for your information, there is a very big difference between gas gathering and gas delivery. So gas delivery can voyage from transportation, which will be the transmission network or distribution network. That being said, I'm not being able to engage you. I would have loved to know what your expectations are for this event, but let me go on. So the industry has three streams. Well, that's widely known, even though certain school of thoughts, especially even in Ghana, do demise the midstream sector. So in Ghana, depending on which political regime is on power, you will see midstream not being recognized. and rather you see upstream and downstream. It is the case for a typical crude oil offshore event. So if you have an offshore event where you have FPSO working and just do tanker to tanker transfer and transport your crude oil to another country to refine, then in that case, yes, you have no midstream sector. But as you see, the upstream, as we all know, is for exploration and production, basically E&P. So if you say a company is E&P, it means that it's an exploration and production company, just like Talu, ENI, and the rest. Okay. So the midstream has to do the transportation bit. So the transportation bit we're talking about here is the transportation of the gas into a processing facility, which is known as a GPP, gas processing plant, or gas processing facility, GPF. And what you see as storage here will be the NGLs. So we have the natural gas liquids that are being stored and later transported through BRVs. You can also have pipeline transporting your natural gas liquids, like your LPG or even your condensate or pentane. And when it comes to the downstream, is the fertilizer stage, where some of the feedstock come from the crude oil and the gas proceeds that could be used to go into petrochemicals, like fertilizer, could go into methanol and the rest. We also have the categorization of refinery here. I wish could have asked all of you to guess which sector of the value chain is highly risky, and then you might have given reasons why we think which the sector you've chosen the most riskiest. But time will not permit me to go around. So let's say you all know that upstream is the riskiest for obvious reason. It is the mother company, or it is the mother sector that actually contributes to the midstream and the downstream. Everything depends on the upstream. And it burns also very, very high exploration risk. So you could have the means of drilling and not getting anything. So you hear we've hit a dry hole, meaning that the crude oil or the gas that is on that block or in that well is not commercially viable, and that's where we are going to now. The main factor affecting the investment in oil and gas industry today, as you all know, government policies and all, cost, pricing, and demand for energy. Today, energy transition even makes it worse, which affects the first and the last, which is the demand for energy. That's clean energy, and then geo-government policies. I make it mention of geo-government policies because you and I are aware that Africa as a continent, our views are not taken in terms of what we need to do with our energy transition. So what is the target of any upstream gas company or upstream oil company? Is it to find large amount of crude oil and gas, or to make profit? Often than not, my students will pick to find large amount of crude oil, and I believe 80% of you will do same. But you should understand that finding oil and gas, or gas, as we're talking about now, that's not necessarily ensure that you're going to make profit, because profit depends on the commercial success. All right, profit will depend on the cost of producing this gas and the cost of processing it. Okay, so for me, you ask me if I get 40 TCF onshore and 40 TCF deep offshore, which one will make more profit? Obviously, the onshore. So there are so many technical factors that will affect your commercial success. So therefore, you're going to ask yourself, does commercial success only mean find large amount of crude oil or hydrocarbon? Obviously, no. So commercial success simply depends finding large amount of what? Your gas or crude oil thereof that can be produced economically. All right. So when you run your economics, you want to know how much you are producing this for and how much you are selling at. Okay. So the commerciality criteria will be a definite field development plan with a detailed timetable, sufficient capital to achieve this plan, and necessary operating cost. a market to sell it. And let me pause and say this here, that for gas market, it takes a while to get a market. But for crude oil market, you all know that it's available. And that is also very critical when you want to develop a gas sector. And for those who are very clean in understanding the gas master plan procedure, what is very important is to having a key project. We call it a key project that you're going to run your gas master plan on. It could be a GPP, it could be an LNG facility, because you should have a market, you should have the demand for your product. The necessary production and transportation facilities are available. So as you know, in 2017 and above, with the discovery of gas, there have been certain infrastructure which tomorrow the engineers at 𝙑𝙑𝙪𝙀 are going to take you through were built. Okay, they were built because yes, there was a discovery, yes, there was a market niche discovered, which in our case was gas to power, and therefore we needed what? Infrastructure. Infrastructure here was the GPP and the transportation facilities. And then obviously there are contracts to be signed. So don't think that it's all about engineering. I have a reservoir background as well, but today I'm doing more of commercial stuff, doing economics and legal things. So you engineers, or whoever you are on this platform, need to understand that the legal contractual environment are very, very important. Okay, and also the socioeconomic favorability that will allow you to drill or not to drill, or to produce or not to produce, or even to process or not to process. If time will permit, the site engineers will take you through for 2 days how the 𝙑𝙑𝙪𝙀 plant came into being. There was so much habits. So the industry competitive environment, we have the integrated major or super major oil companies such as ExxonMobil, Chevron, Shell, Total, as you all know. They are vertically integrated because, for obvious reasons, they operate from upstream, midstream, and downstream. So let me say that Tullow Oil is not a vertically integrated company. Just like, unlike ExxonMobil, Shell, and Total are. You're going to see filling stations named ExxonMobil or Total, but you're not going to see a filling station called Tullow Oil, right? So the independent ones are like the Tullow Oil, as we all know, that the medium-sized and small-sized companies which specialize in one specific area. In our case, is the E&P, right? They are also called IOC because they are international oil companies or international oil and gas companies. And then you have the national companies like GMPC, NNPC, Saudi Aramco, and Kuwait, Gazprom, Rosneft. But let me mention that there are national oil companies who are also vertically integrated. Okay, so Kuwait Petroleum, Abu Dhabi is vertically integrated. China, CNPC is very, very vertically integrated and very, very even international. PDVSA is also very integrated, and Gazprom, Rosneft as well. So the life of the cycle start with acquisition. Okay, so all that we've discussed are more of the operational part and economics. But let's look at the technical cycle. All right, you start with the legal right to acquire a block. Okay, you acquire it legally by bidding. Right, so if anybody has a block in any country and did not bid, it means that he acquired it illegally. Right, he acquired it, that person acquired it illegally. And you go into exploration. You go into exploration by drilling. So I believe that the petroleum engineers here know what wildcat is. So wildcat is simply a very first well drilling in an area where there is no history. There is no geological history as to whether there's a finding or not. It could be on a block, it could be on in a region. They are all called wildcat. So the well that you drill here, know that is an exploration drilling or an exploratory well. And they are most often vertical and not horizontal. Okay, then appraisal. So let me say this, that there also is appraisal well. Okay, appraisal well are continuous wells or delineation wells that are used to understand the reservoir. So it gives you more insight as to how much gas or how much crude oil you have in place. All right. Yes, can you turn an exploration well into an appraisal well? Yes, you can, but it's not appraisal well. Appraisal well comes after doing exploration. After appraising and you have your economic justification for producing or developing, then you go ahead to do your development drilling. Okay, so already we have seen three types of wells: exploration well, appraisal well, and development well. And development wells are mostly horizontal, just for obvious reason that you know, to amass the quantum of fluids to be produced, right? Someone will ask you, can you turn exploration well and appraisal well into injection wells? Yes, you can. Okay, because injection wells are also normally vertical. Production. So production is a state of producing your crude oil or your gas. So the very first product that comes out of that particular well is called the first gas or the first well. First oil. I remember E&I had its first gas, and then Jubilee had first oil. Okay. Abandonment, they are very critical. Okay, so this is where we do P&A. P&A simply means plug and abandon. And we cut off the wellheads, we plug them with material that will prevent the fluids from pop up into your land or into the sea. So these are the 6 main chapters that will summarize the petroleum life cycle, but I will just go through them if time will permit me. I doubt no. So just as I said, just take them like that. But you should also know that there are profiles that the reservoir engineers with the geological engineers are going to give you. Profile 1, therefore, of course, you're going to make quick revenue, but you're going to destroy the reservoir. Profile 2 is more preferable technically. Okay. And these are more onto scenarios in terms of depletion strategy, how you're going to ultimate your recovery, your UR, and production strategy, whether you're going to do a plateau or you're going to do a very short plateau, just as you saw here. So all needs to be discussed in the technical meetings. Okay, lifting strategy, you can do artificial lift, you go to natural flow. They need to be discussed. Well, like a TETRA, whether vertical deviated, which is the ERD. That's accelerated drilling, perforating strategy, partial penetration, single flow, completion strategy, and surface facility. We're going to do an onshore, on offshore. All needs to be discussed during your FDP. That's your field development plan stage. So this is an integrated, multidisciplinary team which varies from complementary experience. Okay. So over here, you're going to see people from reservoir engineering background, geology, geophysicists out there, drilling engineers, completion engineers. You're going to have production engineers. You're going to have facilities engineers. You're going to have HSC engineers. That's why you're going to have the HSC guy, manager come over on the last day. And then you have economic expert. Okay, I forgot to bring the legal part. We're going to have legal as well. So I always say that the oil and gas industry is not only for petroleum engineers, right? Everybody is welcome. In fact, you have administrative people here. So those who are going to book your flights, logistics, they're all part of your field development plan. Okay, they're not going to kind of contribute technically, but just to facilitate your work. Okay, so it's an integrated team to be coordinated, right? So the production phase, all we know is just to make sure that you produce amicably. So let me use this next few 5 to 10 minutes to address the difference between natural gas, liquids, liquefied natural gas, compressed natural gas, as it sounds very confusing to people who are not in the industry. I know that on technical aspect, you're going to touch on that, but natural gas is a term used to describe the lightest member of the hydrocarbon family. Okay, mostly the methane, ethane, propane, and butane. And these are the gaseous compounds. Understand that apart from the hydrocarbon compounds, there are also the non-hydrocarbon compounds that can be found in natural gas, be it raw gas or lean gas. Okay. So a typical natural gas composition will be the methane and the rest of ethane, nitrogen, propane, or let me say the non-hydrocarbons also forming part of it. So type of reserves, already we know that there is an associated gas reserve and there's also the non-associated gas reserve. So for your information and for all you know already, the Jubilee field is a it is an associated gas because it comes from what? A crude oil reserve. And the E&I gas field is a gas condensate field. So it is a non-associated gas. And therefore, on the last day when the pricing tutor picks up the lecture, he will mention how associated gas price is done and how non-associated gas price is done. And for this reason, the gas from Talu is cheaper than the gas from ENI, okay? So, I mean, in a simple graph or drawing this out, it looks like unassociated gas embedded in the oil and non-associated gas being a gas compound, okay? So natural gas liquids are liquids that come from a raw gas or wet gas. So it's called wet because it has liquids in them, all right? It's called raw because it's in a raw state. I mean, it's in a raw state. Once these liquids are extracted from this raw gas, it becomes leaner, it becomes drier. It's formed the natural gas liquids. So what are they? The LPG, which is a natural gas liquid, and also the condensate, which can be blended to into gasoline, right? That can be used in our vehicles. So LPG is a mixture of propane and butane. And let me mention that every country has its own mixture. So probably in Nigeria it's 40-60, in Ghana it's 80-20, in other countries it could be 50-50. But let me say that propane is a burning agent. So when you say I want to buy this LPG and it finished early, don't think that they cheated you. What it means that the propane component in that LPG is more than the butane or more than whatever you buy, okay? More butane will help you keep it for a long time, but remember it takes a long time to burn, okay? So it will take time for the food to be cooked, but the propane will cook faster and the gas will finish fast. It has other impurities in them, all right? So the natural gas composition and LPG composition, as you see, propane and butane and others, and then you have methane here. And then we have the liquefied natural gas, what we call the LNG. So liquefied natural gas is a simple natural gas, be it lean gas or gas, that has been freezed or that has been frozen to a temperature of 161 negative degrees Celsius or 256 negative Fahrenheit at atmospheric pressure. Okay, so you're keeping the pressure constant. And that helps you to reduce the composition, or in terms of size, the gas into a smaller component that can be transported. All right. So the volume is reduced 600 times. It still contains your 85 to 95 methane. So you have not changed any property. You have not changed, let me repeat it. You have not changed any chemical property of the gas. You have just changed the physical property in terms of composition. Okay. So in terms of size. It's still colorless, odorless, non-corrosive, and non-toxic, just as any lean gas would be. All right. And it's lighter than water. So between LNG and LPG, which we know one is methane, one is propane and butane, all right? And you're also going to ask yourself then, what is CNG? So CNG is also a natural gas that has been compressed with pressure. One is compressed with temperature, one is compressed with pressure, okay? That's CNG. So on your left, you see LNG transport medium that has domes on it, and then you have your simple LPG bottling plants. This is a transportation cost. I'm not going to go into this because there's another lecture on its own. But traditional LNG supply chain starts with this. So you do your E&P, which your exploration and production. All right. As you can see here. So these are your reserves. For example, this is a land rig. And after production, you have your gas that has been refrigerated or liquefied. So we call it liquefaction or refrigeration. Okay, so remember this, Ghana has an LNG facility here, but it is not a refrigeration or liquefaction plant. It is rather regasification. So after transportation, it goes into regasification, or you store them. When you need them, you regasify them and you use them. Another picture is this, in another way. You produce it, you transport it, you liquefy it, you transport the gas, it comes here, you regasify, you store, and you regasify, and it goes to your customers. You see the power sector here. So here they are producing power from the gas, as we do here. I'm sure Peter mentioned that today more than 90% of the gas are used for gas. So just throw more light into infrastructure so far. Even that tomorrow, they're going to do that in a very, very detailed manner. We have the FPSO come at the Jubilee field, and the FPSO John emails here from the 10 field. So the 10 field has several satellite fields, and they put an FPSO in the middle. So this is the economic decision making. Instead of putting an FPSO on each reservoir, about 4 of them. They put an FPSO in the center and they produce from all of them. So here we do have crude oil produced and the gas as well. We have the 58-kilometer 12-inch pipeline that goes to Atuabo. So the gas that comes from here, let me mention that it is a raw gas. It is a wet gas, in other words. So it comes here for processing. However, the gas that comes from Sankofa is a lean gas. So it comes not for processing, but it comes at the ORF at Sansule to commingle with the already processed gas from the GPP. And then the green line, as you see here, with the transmission network of 110-kilometer pipeline, 12-inch to say, goes to the TDS. On its way to the TDS, there's a branch line at the EDS, which is the Ziama Distribution Center, that goes to the Pristia Regulatory and Metering Station, and then to Nyanyini and to Kumasi. Okay. I heard Peter mention the Triford and the manufacturing plants over here. Yes, they also take some gas. There is also a 10-kilometer pipeline that goes to the car power ship, and the rest of the gas that are not used in the west will go to the east, which I'm sure Peter mentioned that. There is also plans to construct a 278-kilometer pipeline from the TDS to Tema, which is going to be an onshore pipeline. There are also plans to close the loop to Kumasi through Atiwa, and then to join the Kumasi network. So just in a short high-level form, and I'll need to run away, but this is how the gas sector looks like, even in the global level and also in our country. Thank you so much for your attention.
Hello, Robinson.
Yes, Panini.
You are done?
Yes, I am done.
Oh, okay. Thank you so much. I thought you
too.
are going to project another slide.
No, there are other slides. I wish I could go into the commercial structures, but then unfortunately I need to run into another meeting. So Peter is here to pick all questions, and the drilling parts, James, Shina, everybody, I see Joseph, I see Celestina will be here to support you to answer those questions. So on that note, please, thank you so much for having me here.
All right.
Peter, for making time for us.
Okay. Thank you so much for giving us that insightful lecture. We are about taking questions. Questions to the first presenter, Mr. Peter and Mr. Hagan, and then Dr. Robinson upon all that they've told us today, the presentations they've done, we'll take questions from it. If you cannot ask the questions, please put them in the chat and we'll respond to them. If you can, just raise up your hand and then we'll call you. We'll take the question from you. It should be done within the next 20 minutes for questions and answers. So the floor is open for questions, discussions, contributions. Thank you so much. Let me go to the chat box. All right, so I have a question here. Jeffrey Donko is saying, please, can I still do attachment because I am done with my degree program? So he's saying if he can still do attachment at Ghana Guard, even though he's done with his degree program. Peter, please, can you take that for us?
Yes, Philip, why not? He can do that. All he needs to do is to apply officially to the HR, and then they will look at the merit of it and then take over it. All right.
All right, thank you so much. I can't see any more questions. Let me see if there are some hands up. All right, there's a hand up. Aaron Selassie, you can unmute yourself and ask your question. Aaron.
Hello.
Hello, Karen. Right, if he's not ready, can we take the next person? I'm not seeing any hands up here. Are we okay? In the previous link, before we move to the webinar link, Somebody asked if we'll be sharing the slides. Yes, we'll make sure we share the slides that are relevant to this discussion here. So we'll share the slides. For certificates, no, there are no certificates for this virtual internship. There are no certificates for this virtual internship. All right, thank you so much. All right. Joseph, can we have you? Your hand is up.
Yes, thank you very much.
Welcome.
My question has to do with the mandate of some of the state institutions, right? So, BOST, for example, I understand has a mandate to develop storage facilities, pipelines, other bulk infrastructure, for movement of products throughout the country, right? And now we have Ghana Gas basically being the main gas infrastructure provider. How is it like? How are you coordinating that? And is Ghana Gas looking to being almost a de facto monopoly player in the space, right? Is a plan to make it a more competitive subsector? That's a midstream, or is a plan to consolidate all infrastructure development under Ghana Gas? And what are the pros and cons of such a decision? Thank you.
Thank you, Joseph. Peter, I guess you will be able to provide an answer to this. Hello, Peter, are you on the call? All right. I don't have Peter responding to this. Joseph, please don't worry. When he comes back, be able to answer your questions. Wanda Agbenya is asking, according to the data Peter presented, on Sankofa average daily supply, I noticed a sharp drop in September. In September data, can he please touch on the sudden decrease? All right, there's another question here. Please follow up with the question. All right, I think that we have answered already. There's another question here from
Yeah, Peter is back, so you can.
Peter is back.
Yes.
Hi, Philip. I had a small internet hitch. Can you please give me the update on the questions?
All right. I will let Joseph come in with his question again. I think he's trying to put it on a chat. All right, Peter. I said Peter, sorry.
Yes.
Joseph, can you please come in again? Thank you.
Yes, sorry. So, Peter, I was just asking, in terms of the midstream sectors, you have it. Ghana Gas is now essentially a monopoly player, right? And we know that BOST also has a mandate to develop infrastructure related to bulk and transportation. So I was trying to find out how the collaboration is working. And then also to find out, in your view, what are the pros and cons of consolidating Ghana Gas position as a monopoly player in the gas sector, right? As against opening it up to competition, to a more diversified industry in terms of the players. And I was following up with a question in the chat box that this focus on having, so I made an example of the gas to power, right? You mentioned a lot about gas to power being one of the key uses of Ghana's gas. And I was asking that, is that not increasing our vulnerability? Because now with, our thermal capacity being about 95% gas, it means any issue in the sector means that everything goes down. So with all this in play, how are we managing all these risks? Thank you.
All right, Peter, please over to you.
Okay, so thank you, Philip. If I got you correctly, I think your first question has to do with Ghana Gas being a midstream entity, or better put it, vertically integrated company, doing gas processing and then transportation, and then BOST also at a certain point in time with some policy orientation having perhaps the same capacity to do the same thing. This is one of the huge challenges, practical challenge within the sector now, that has to do with policy orientation and how defined roles are. Our sector is quite young, so in terms of policy-wide, it's not 100% zipped. At certain point, BOST, if you look at the policy orientation, have so that mandate, we're given that mandate at the early stages to do that, and then it straight came to Ghana Gas. In between this period, there has been a lot of out, in, out, and still as we speak now, it's still not even 100% cut out. But the good news is that Ghana Gas is spearheading that responsibility or role in terms of being a vertically integrated midstream company. And I think for now we've done justice to this particular mandate. You can see from the presentation that I just did in terms of what we are doing, processing what we are receiving from upstream, how well our engineers are keeping the GPP up, and then basically the ability to really do the work and do it well. In terms of the midstream aspect, I think there is no single entity here in Ghana that can match Ghana Gas in terms of human capacity. When you go to it's an eye opener to be at the site and to see our gallant men and women at the helms of having to operate that huge facility. So that has to do with it, and hopefully these policy decisions will be firmed up, and then Ghana Gas will be clear in terms of having to do with this midstream activities here in Ghana. Would it tied to the monopolistic feature of it? Yes. Currently, this is what it is now. It has its own as and disadvantages, but the reality on the ground is that our sector is quite young. When you look at the typical example of the British case, even our own neighbors, Nigeria, it took them quite a number of years, probably beyond 15 years, for them to unbundle the sector. It's quite young and small in our nature. So, and then the risk are tied to it. So you want to make sure that we have the people with the requisite capacity to handle this issue. It comes with a lot of HSC issues. You know how it is quite capital intensive aspect of it. So for now, it looks like it's a monopolistic market, but it will take some time for we really need to grow that space for us to have more qualified people, more qualified entities to be able to do that. But for now, trust me, perhaps Ghana Gas is the only entity here in Ghana that have that full capacity to do gas business as we are doing now. All right, and then the Your second aspect has to do, your second question has to do with gas to power. I want to see if I got the questions correct. You wanted to know the risk associated with it, with the fact that we using almost above 90% of our gas production for power utilization. So we wanted to know the risk associated with it. Are we well prepared to be able to do that for that longer time? The reality on the ground is that until 2009, all right, we were heavily dependent on Akosombo, which was hydro. So Akosombo was doing around, let's say, it was almost 91% of our power generation here in Ghana with other alternative sources. And then gas came in, started with 9%. And look at the trajectory now, all right? We currently from 209, 9% for gas, we're currently doing 63% of gas utilization by gas, and then around 35, 32 by hydro. So you can see the shift in growth from hydro to gas. And of course, it comes with its numerous advantages, being that gas is quite reliable in terms of it's quite less expensive, using gas as power for power generation. And you know, with hydro, it's quite difficult to develop a new one. You need to have those gorges, those natural tendencies need to be there for you to be able to say that we are going to. If not, perhaps Ghana would have had, after Akosombo and Bui, we could have had maybe 3 or 4 more hydros. But the reality on the ground was that we can't. Our best bet is on gas, where with thermal power plant, you know, minimum between 2 to 3 years, you can easily establish one. And once you have the flow of gas, we can have it indigenous, we can have it from regional aspect. It then becomes our best bet for sustenance. So you consider the sustainability aspect of it, and then you consider the long growth in terms of having the capacity to meet the demand coming from downstream. All right, thank you.
Thank you, Peter. I have a couple of questions here. Some I think you have been able to tackle. I will ask a few that are relevant to this discussion. Also, it's asking, is with the LNG and the LPG, which of them have the highest or higher burning rates? Let me put it that way, higher burning rates.
Yeah, Philip.
Yes, I can hear you.
So as Dr. Robertson just did mention, I'm not a pure engineer student. So if anyone from your end, or Albert, Miracle, Michael, if you guys are on board, you can help answer some of these technical questions. Thank you.
All right. All right. Thank you so much. All right. Thank you so much. I will shift away from that. I think the other question is for Revenson. Wow. All right, Mike, Peter, let me try and see if you can take this one. In what phase is the produced gas transported to the GPP from the FPSO?
Philip, can you repeat it again?
All right. In what phase is the produced gas transported to the GPP from the FPSO?
Okay, so mostly we receive the gas from upstream, that is from the FPSO through an export pipeline, and they come in raw form. So that is the raw gas phase. All right, so that is raw gas. And then once it comes in from the FPSO through the export pipeline to our GPP, we do the processing. We process it, we take out the impurities and all of that. We do the separations to get what we call the lean gas or the sales gas, and then the natural liquids, like the LPG, condensate, and then the others. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Last but not the least, which is related to this, please, what information at the appraisal phase influences the development? No, let me take it again. Please, what information at the appraisal phase influence plan of development? So, Peter, please take that.
Okay, so I think this is what Riverson presented, but I'll make a fair attempt to read. All right. So okay. with the appraiser phase, basically you testing, you looking at your geophysics and all of that. You want to see how viable and how sure you are with having to have that reserve in there. So once you have that surety, because it's very capital intensive, and so once you have the data to prove that indeed you have a commercial viable quantity in there for production, then your plan of development can set it. But if it is not in commercial, if after the appraisal phase you can determine the commerciality of the reserve identified, then there is no need to develop that particular field.
All right, thank you so much.
So I think it all has to do with the commerciality of it. All right.
All right, thank you. We should be ending this in the next 5 minutes. I have a few hands up here. I will take Wanda Agbenya. Wanda, please ask your question. Your question should be brief and concise. Wanda. All right, if Wanda is not available, Perez, kindly unmute yourself.
Hello,
and
I'm
ask
here.
Your question. All right, please ask your question quickly.
Okay, so my question is, according to the data Peter presented on the average daily supply from Sankofa, I noticed a sharp drop in September's data. So I wanted to know what are the possible causes of this and if this decrease can affect the gas balance.
Yep, correct. Thank you for that, and thank you for that observation. So ideally, Sankofa was doing 160 million scarf. Was doing between 160 to 200 million scarf a day, and they needed to increase that capacity. So there was a scheduled maintenance where they had to do some upstream activities and some works, maintenance works, and after that, their daily average was increased from the 200 million scarf to 230 million scarf. So that period, the main purpose of that was rather to do that activity or do that scheduled maintenance to enhance the production of the gas coming in from Sankofa. So it has rather in the future, it has rather increased the production level. All right, that period was needed. They had to go off, so that affected the volumes during that period. And we even expected another one to be done in the course of this year for them to increase that volume from the current 230 to 260 by close of this year as well. So that is a good news for the country because we are expecting more volumes from Sankofa this year. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Peter. Perez Apia, then so please ask your question quickly. And we will take last question from Asante, Gideon Asante. Perez, kindly unmute and ask your question. All right, Gideon, can you unmute and ask your question? Okay, he's saying no question, please. So please lower your hand. All right, so we take Gideon. Gideon? All right, Gideon, kindly unmute yourself and ask. Enoch, let's have you. Enoch, I just saw your hand up. Let's have your question. Enoch. Oh, wow. Let me see if he has posted his question on the chat. All right. There's a question from
Hello.
Gideon. Is that Gideon?
Yes. Hello.
Yeah, we can hear you, but your network is crashing.
Please, my question is.
Gideon, kindly type your question in the chat box, please. We cannot hear you.
My question is, I asked the guy that in what phase is the okay. Question.
All right. Kelvin is asking, I saw something about take or pay in the last slide under supply deficit. What does that mean? I think this is for Peter. I saw something about take or pay in the last slide under supply deficit. What does that mean?
Okay, so I basically take or pay. These are all commercial obligations. All right, and these are contractual obligations. So in the industry, when they say you have a take or pay contract with someone, it means that partner A will say that I will offer you 50 million scarf of gas daily average every day. And then partner B will say that, okay, I'm ready to take that 50 million scarf daily every day. But the supplier will then say that, okay, with this 50 million scarf that I want to supply to you, due to some financial commitment that I have made and my investments, portfolios and all of that, I want to insert in a litigation phrase that with this 50 million scarf, you have to take it all daily. If you don't take it, you will have to pay me that 50 million scarf. So that is what we call the take or pay contractual obligations. It basically implies that you, being the supplier, you want to insure yourself. You look at your financial models and you say that you don't want to be supplying while the off-taker is saying that, oh, today I'll need it, tomorrow I don't need it, the next I need it. No, you don't want any of that. You want to secure yourself. So you go in for a take or pay obligation that whether you take or you don't take that gas, you would have to pay for it. So basically, it is on the off-taker to make sure that he does his financial models well and make sure that he's able to consume. He has that flexibility to consume that quantity that he is requesting for. Thank you.
All right, thank you too. Understand the real cool Michael is on the call to take the question that was posed to Rivenson. That is the burning rate of LNG and then LPG. Which one of them burn faster? Michael, if you can hear me, kindly answer that question for us.
Hi, good afternoon, everybody, and thank you very much for the opportunity. So the question is, what is the what? Can you repeat that for me, please?
Okay, let me repeat the question again. He's asking, LNG and LPG, which of them have the highest burning rate? Maybe he's trying to say which one of them have the higher burning rate. Yeah. Between the two, which one burns faster? I think that's what he wants to say.
That's LNG and LPG.
LPG, yes.
Okay.
Which of them burns higher?
So liquefied petroleum, LPG and LNG, for some, LNG is your compressed clean gas to about 500 times its volume. And so normally what you would do is, for example, Tema, we have an LNG unit there, which as a country we are not using at the moment. But if we, in future, we want to have LNG into the plant, or LNG into the country, we can have it in the country. It's like a compressed gas, about 500 times the volume of your lean gas that Ghana Gas produces. So you would then be able to regasify it and then use it for, it's more ethane and methane. Whilst LPG is your propane and your butane mix, which is directly sold to customers. So LPG has a calorific value, which is used, that's the energy that it burns to produce. So if you're talking about energy terms, LNG will be your methane and butane burning, and then LNG for LPG is your propane and your butane that you are burning. I hope that makes sense.
Yes, I think it makes sense practically to me. And I think to the question, the one who asked the question too. Thank you so much, Michael. This is where we bring the conversation to the first day of our virtual internship and field trip. It's a partnership between Ghana Gas and Society of Petroleum Engineers Ghana. And we are very thankful to Reverend Peter for taking us through the overview of the gas sector and the demand and supply that we have, balance that we have here in Ghana. Tomorrow, we will be having Albert Mensah Tando, the operations manager of Ghana Gas, to take us through gas processing plant operations. Gas processing plant operations. That's what we are going to have tomorrow as part of 1 week internship lectures. So let's all do well and join the call at 12 so that we'll be able to finish early and go back to our various work schedules. Without much ado, I would like to extend a very good afternoon to you all, and I will call on James to give us the closing remarks.
Right, Philip, thank you so much for the opportunity to give this closing remarks. I would say the first day has been very, very, very eventful and very informative. I'll once again reiterate our profound gratitude to our various speakers, especially Mr. Peter and Mr. Hagan, the Assistant Commercial Manager, and then Dr. Robertson upon the Commercial Manager, for taking us through day one. I can assure you that day 2, day 3, day 4 is very, 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 very packed. It is very, 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 very packed, and I'll entreat all our attendees to please join us for day 2, day 3, day 4 to be able to grasp whatever our guest speakers will be teaching us, right? Thank you so much for joining us. Please note that we are no more using the old Zoom link and then the password. We are now using a webinar. So please, day 4, day 5, day 2, please share the new webinar with your colleagues to join us for this very informative session. On that note, I want to, on behalf of the section officers and then the board of directors, thank everyone for making today a success. Thank you and see you all tomorrow. Cheers. Bye.
Thank you, James, and thanks everyone. See you all tomorrow at noon. Bye-bye.